There is a mosquito somewhere in your room right now. It found you in complete darkness. It navigated around furniture, detected the carbon dioxide coming from your breath from across the room, landed on your skin without waking you, located a blood vessel, inserted a needle thinner than a human hair, and extracted exactly what it needed before leaving. All of this was done by something with a brain the size of a poppy seed containing roughly 1,000,000 neurons. Your brain contains 86 billion, so the question is not really whether animals have brains. Almost all of them do. The question is what those brains are, what they do, how different they are from yours, and at what point in the animal kingdom the brain disappears entirely, and what happens to the animal when it does. The answer runs from the almost incomprehensibly simple to the disturbingly close to human, and the line between those two extremes is not where most people expect to find it. Start at the bottom. Sponges have no brain, no neurons, no nervous system of any kind. They are the only multicellular animals on Earth that process the world entirely without any centralized signaling system. They filter water, they respond to some chemical signals, they do the basic biological work of staying alive, but there is no processing happening in any meaningful sense. No experience of the world, just chemistry doing what chemistry does. Jellyfish are one step up. They have neurons, roughly 5,600 in the most studied species, but no brain. Instead, they have a nerve net, a diffuse web of neurons spread across the body with no central hub. When something touches a jellyfish, the signal spreads outward from the point of contact through the net. The jellyfish responds. But nothing in the jellyfish is receiving that signal, interpreting it, and deciding what to do. There is no decider, just the signal and the response, connected directly, with nothing in between. This is important because it establishes what a brain actually is. A brain is not just neurons. A brain is a centralized structure where information from multiple sources comes together, gets processed, and produces a coordinated response. A brain is the place where the animal happens. Without it, there is response but no animal. Without it, something reacts but nothing experiences. Insects were the first animals to develop something recognizable as a brain in this sense. A centralized cluster of neurons, called a ganglion, that receives input from the senses and coordinates the body's response. The honeybee brain contains roughly 1,000,000 neurons organized into structures that handle vision, smell, navigation, and learning. A honeybee can learn to associate colors with food rewards. It can navigate using the position of the sun. It can communicate the location of food sources to other bees through a precise dance that encodes distance and direction. It can remember. It can learn. It can solve simple problems. All of this from a brain smaller than a sesame seed. Fish arrived next in evolutionary terms, and with fish came the basic vertebrate brain structure that would eventually produce your own. A hindbrain managing basic body functions, a midbrain processing sensory information, a forebrain beginning to handle more complex tasks. Fish brains are small relative to body size and relatively simple compared to mammals, but they are recognizably the same architecture, the same fundamental plan, modified and elaborated across hundreds of millions of years of evolution, but starting from the same blueprint. Birds surprised everyone. For most of scientific history, birds were considered neurologically inferior to mammals. Their brains were small, structured differently, lacking the thick folded cortex that was believed to be the seat of intelligence in mammals. Then researchers started actually testing birds, and the results were uncomfortable for everyone who had assumed small brain meant simple mind. Crows can solve multi-step puzzles. They can use tools. They can use tools to make other tools, a level of planning that was previously considered uniquely human. They can recognize individual human faces and remember them for years. They hold grudges. They have been observed leaving gifts for humans who fed them. New Caledonian crows, when shown a problem they cannot solve with available tools, will seek out a different tool specifically to make the tool they need. The planning horizon required for that behavior is significant. Pigeons can recognize themselves in mirrors. They can distinguish between paintings by Monet and Picasso. They can learn to read, not understand language, but distinguish between real words and nonsense letter combinations, with accuracy rates that have unsettled researchers who expected to find nothing. The bird brain, it turned out, is not a simpler version of the mammal brain. It is a different architecture that arrived at similar capabilities through a completely different evolutionary path. The structures are different. The outcomes are remarkably similar, which tells us something important. There is more than one way to build an intelligent brain. The mammal solution is not the only solution. It may not even be the best solution for every problem. Dolphins have brains that are, by several measures, more complex than human brains. Larger relative to body size than almost any other animal. More densely folded cortex. More complex social structures supported by that brain. Dolphins have signature whistles, individual sounds that function as names. They call each each other by name. They respond when their name is called. They have demonstrated self-recognition in mirrors, long-term memory for individuals they haven't seen in decades, and the ability to understand both the words and the grammar of human sign language. They also have a brain structure humans don't, a region called the paralimbic lobe, enlarged in cetaceans beyond anything found in other mammals, whose function is still not fully understood. Some researchers believe it is involved in emotional processing at a depth and complexity that may exceed what the human brain is capable of. We don't know. We can't know yet. The structure exists. What it does in full remains one of the genuinely open questions in neuroscience. Elephants have brains 3 times the size of human brains, the absolute largest of any land animal. They have a hippocampus, the memory center, that is proportionally enormous. They remember individual elephants and individual humans decades after last contact. They have demonstrated mirror self-recognition. They comfort distressed companions using touch and sound. They have been observed standing over their dead, returning to the same bones year after year. The neural architecture that supports these behaviors is genuinely vast. And then there is the octopus. The octopus brain is the most alien intelligence we know of on this planet. 2/3 of its neurons are not in its brain at all. They are distributed through its 8 arms, each of which can act semi-independently, solving problems without waiting for instructions from the central brain. The octopus nervous system is not centralized the way vertebrate nervous systems are. It is more like a network of semi-autonomous processors loosely coordinated by a central hub. Octopuses can open jars. They can navigate mazes. They can recognize individual human faces and respond differently to people they like versus people who have treated them badly. They play. Researchers have documented octopuses repeatedly releasing objects into a current and catching them, behavior with no survival purpose that looks uncomfortably like fun. They have REM-like sleep states, during which their skin flashes through complex color changes, suggesting something is happening in that distributed brain during sleep that we cannot yet describe. They have been evolving separately from vertebrates for 750 million years. Their brain arrived at intelligence by a completely different path from yours, and yet something is there. Something processes. Something, in some sense, experiences. So do animals have brains? Most of them, yes. Some of them, no. Some of them have something between no brain and a brain that we still don't have a good word for. And some of them have brains that are close enough to yours to make the question of what is happening inside them genuinely difficult to dismiss. The mosquito that found you in the dark had 1 million neurons and knew exactly what it was doing, what it felt about it. That part we still can't reach.